In this video, we will talk about balancing chemical equations. So what is a chemical equation? A chemical equation shows us the substances involved in a chemical reaction. The substances that react, called reactants, and the substances that are produced, called products. The number of atoms of the reactants and products need to be balanced. There are two simple steps to balance a chemical equation. The first step is to count the atoms of each element in the reactants and products. Second step is to use coefficients. Place them in front of the compounds as needed. For example, nitrogen reacts with hydrogen to produce ammonia. In this chemical reaction, the reactants are the nitrogen and hydrogen, and the product is ammonia. If we look at this equation, we can see that the equation is not balanced. The equation is not balanced because in the reactant side, there are 2 nitrogen atoms and 2 hydrogen atoms. In the product side, there are 1 nitrogen atoms and 3 hydrogen atoms. The number of atoms is not balanced on both sides. To balance the chemical equation above, we need to make use of coefficients. A coefficient is a number that we place in front of a chemical formula. In the chemical equation, to make the number of nitrogen atoms equal on both sides, first we place a coefficient of 2 in front of NH3. Once we do that, the number of nitrogen atoms on both sides is balanced. However, the number of hydrogen atoms is not balanced on both sides. We need to make use of another coefficient in front of H2. This time, we put a coefficient of 3 in front of H2 to balance the chemical equation. The equation above is now balanced. There are 2 nitrogen atoms and 6 hydrogen atoms on both sides, the reactants and product side. Since there is no coefficient in front of N2, that means the coefficient is equal to 1. Another example is a reaction between methane and oxygen, producing carbon dioxide and water. The reaction shown is a combustion reaction. A compound reacts with oxygen and produces carbon dioxide and water. The technique is to balance the carbon atoms first, then the hydrogen atoms, and then the oxygen atoms. In this case, the carbon atoms are already balanced. So now we look at the hydrogen atoms. There are 4 hydrogen atoms on the reactant side and 2 hydrogen atoms on the product side. To balance them, we put a coefficient of 2 in front of H2O. The hydrogen atoms are now balanced. Due to the coefficient of 2 in front of H2O, there are a total of 4 oxygen atoms on the product side. To balance the oxygen atoms on both sides, we put a coefficient of 2 in front of O2. The chemical equation is now balanced. Another example is a reaction between ferric oxide and carbon, producing iron and carbon dioxide. This reaction is not balanced. First, we need to balance the oxygen atoms. We do this by making it so that there are 6 oxygen atoms on each side. To do this, we need to put a coefficient of 2 in front of Fe2O3 and the coefficient of 3 in front of CO2. Now that the oxygen atoms are now balanced, we need to balance the iron first. To do this, we need to put a coefficient of 4 in front of Fe in the product side. Now that the Fe atoms are now balanced, we can balance the carbon atoms. We do this by putting a coefficient of 3 in front of C on the reactant side. The chemical equation is now balanced. That's all. Thank you.